So we started in a sense of trying not to do something too obvious that is giving people somehow like a direct reference of, oh, that is what Hong Kong would be, or for people that is not from Hong Kong to easily register that is something Hong Kong inspired per se. So we decided to go for an angle which is a lot more personal, from memories, from families, and a bit of trauma as well, and to kind of give that feeling in the direction of celebratory of what women is, or the power of women, and the feminism angle from East Asia in general even is like, because that's how I was brought up in Hong Kong, to see a lot of successful musical icons and cinematic icons on the screen, on the cinema screen as well, and to kind of find that inspiration and that strength through it. And therefore, a lot of these designs are anchors in that, something personal about my family, and also something that only Hong Kong people would understand. And how interesting it is to now to see that show actually went also to the West medias as well. And they're always they were all trying to figure out what that polka dot gown means. And even Hot Lemo, Luke himself said, like, I suppose there's only Hong Kong audience will understand what that means. And I love that, because they know that, okay, it's a personal reference, but they would never understand it, but only people in Hong Kong would understand it, but they still love it regardless. And I think that's the whole aim for me, is to create that beauty that is personal to us, but not gimmicky. Yeah, I suppose that's the whole aim. London was more like my family decision, because my family always had connections in the UK. And they just felt, I think when I reached 15 or 16 years old, they just felt, okay, if I'm certain that I want to pursue something creative such as a fashion career, they felt like then Hong Kong wouldn't be, back then, the right environment, to pursue any study or further studies, to have a successful or a good education when it comes to creativity. That's the very initial beginning of why I moved there. And as I grew up there, and as I learned my craft there, and to find my voice in fashion in London, I think one very distinctive part between London and Hong Kong is sometimes when you live in London, you feel like you're living in, not because it's a British city, but it's more like the whole world lives there. I think, for example, my team, they are from Spain, Italy, Netherlands, Denmark, France. So almost none of them are British. So I think that's the thing about London, and me myself from Hong Kong, right? And sometimes we've got interns from China, from Japan, from Korea as well, from Philippines. So the great thing about London is it kind of makes you see the world in a very different perspective, because you're living in the world. So you're mixing the cultural mix, and the distinctiveness of it kind of gives you that open perspective and that international mindset. And I do feel that's kind of important, especially for nowadays landscape, to be a designer, to be in fashion. You need to understand who are you talking to, because it's no longer a local market or regional market. You're trying to speak through the world. And for me, I feel to stay in Hong Kong is always going to be challenging, the education system, and also the support might not be as distinctive. But I feel that it's been changing now, with my experience this time back to Hong Kong, which is great. I'm able to do this with HKDDC. So yeah, and to be here now to talk to the young contestants as well, to try to see what we can do for them for the future as well. So I'm just glad that things are changing. Yeah. There's a lot more maturity than I expect, and there's a lot more grace than I expect as well, which is wonderful. You always have to be humble, in my opinion, to be a designer. You have to be confident, but it's a very fine line between confidence and ego, and there's a very fine line between staying humble and actually, having that knowledge and self-confidence. So that is what I have seen so far. I feel there is a very beautiful range of designers too, someone that are more conceptually leaded, someone that are more technically leaded and know exactly what kind of designer they want to be as well. They got the factory sorted, they know how to make clothes that can sell, and they're designers that are like, oh, I want to be more like an artist, that want to make garments that would take 2-3 weeks just to paint, and let the paint kind of firm it and then add another layer of paint. And I love that range. There should be the whole fashion system should have different kind of designer that wants to do different kind of businesses or to go different kind of paths. And I felt that is so exciting because they all mutually shared passion, in creativity. And that's what we're here for, is to really nurture them and to guide them to different direction. As I see most of the jury are my friends that I kind of like work together with and know, in the industry for a long time. And they all came with different kind of experience and perspective as well. So I feel that would definitely be very helpful and insightful for them. Yes, definitely. I think one of them just asked me a question as well. Like, what do you think your challenges are when you started your brand? I was like, it's exactly what you guys are going through, You don't know whether you're going to make it. Your lack of funding. Your lack of support. You're still trying to make your name known. So everything feels like an unknown. Everything feels like a struggle. Everything feels like, oh, I believe in it. But am I delusional, right? And I am trying to share with them that, like, it's okay to feel stuck, or it's okay to feel like, oh, you might not make it. But you can't let it overwhelm about your passions. Like the moment, like just keep on reminding yourself about how you first started. The moment I realized that I wanted to do fashion, the moment I went to Meiji to do my first pair of jeans, and I went back home and I cut on the side seam and I spin it around and hand stitch it back together, I always remind myself of those first moments, those joy, those purest form of passion. So whenever, no matter how far you go, no matter how difficult things are, and how many money is starting to get involved, and how stuck you are on the creative perspective, always look back at those genuine passion beginning moments, and then remember, like, all of this is just overthinking, and everything will resolve itself. And since success and failure you can't predict and you can't control, you can only try your best. Live with that passion, keep that passion like as the first piece of garment you put together. Then let that guide you for the rest of your journey. So that would be my strongest advice for everyone. Yeah. It's about finding that balance between two worlds. How does the people in the old days make it? They made it through extreme control and high budget campaign. Super refined, defining what luxury is. It's a photo that is completely timeless. That's what they produced in the old days for their marketing image. And nowadays, it's about short-time attention. How do you grab attention really quickly? What would be the modern interpretation of beauty and timelessness? You need to look at both, because now you live in the future and the present world. But also, you can't completely forget about what makes fashion at the very first place. So once you combine the two, then you find your inner voice. Who are you? What are you trying to say with this two sides of the world of knowledge? Then find your own method to tell your story. You don't need to force that, oh, you need to reference a modern brand, someone like as successful as Jacquemus, He's incredible because that's who he is, It doesn't necessarily mean that's who you are. You need to find your own way in this world. I feel like sometimes referencing very successful marketing brand, especially in nowadays, that is doing really well, young people sometimes can get really lost in terms of, oh, that is what my voice is too. But wait, hold on a second, I literally just gave advice to one of the contestants as well. I was like, what do you like to do outside of fashion? Like completely irrelevant to fashion. So I love to make ceramic. And I told her that now imagine you're no longer a fashion designer. Now you're just a ceramic artist. What would you do? What would be your story that you want to tell through your ceramic art? What would be the angle? What kind of ceramic artist that you're going to be? And start thinking like that. Withdraw yourself from fashion. Find your voice as a human being, as a person. Then you will know what is your distinctive voice in fashion as well. That's how you can contribute something new to the industry too. Then that's your marketing plan. That's your unique selling point. Yeah. I think that question itself can sometimes be very confusing for a lot of people, because no one ever asks designers to be a master at their craft, or yes, they should, and they could and they should be, exactly. But there's so many ways. Also, like you mentioned, technology. Also, what kind of designers are you? You know, it's almost like trying to ask, should all photographers use a certain type of film, or they can use different format and media to produce their photography, which is all valid. But the baseline is quality, intention. I think that refines everything, because craftsmanship itself is so vast as well in fashion. There's different kind of craftsmanship. A person that is extremely good at embroidery might not be the best pattern cutter, and a person that could be the best pattern cutter in the world might not even know how to make a wedding gown because they only focus on menswear blazer. You just need to find what you want to be, master at that, and appreciate people that also have craft and skills that you might not have, and imagine that as one universe. And how do you know knowledge from every aspect? You don't need to be great at it, but you need to be knowledgeable about it. Then when you work as a team, as your team grow, that's how you can build a world with different range, and let the quality be the baseline of the definition of craft itself. Yeah, definitely. And it's definitely the most powerful thing in the future as well, you know. I always believe 孤掌难鸣. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you got more people that is on your journey together, not only because you guys can produce great things together and have great chemistry, but also you elaborate, you bounce ideas together, you come together and create something that you're unexpected. I personally, for one, cannot imagine I do everything all by myself, not only on the business side of things, but also on the creative side of things. You know, I love talking to my friends that I trust, you know, from photographer, videographer, choreographer, you know, even textile designers, just to bounce ideas that I love and also adore their work and see what they think and what their perspective is. It's not only that, but also emotional support as well, because they will understand your journey. And every time we work, the kind of magic we create is insane, because you have been tapping into each other as well, and they see it with a different perspective as well. So it's very important. I would say don't hesitate to collaborate with people, because at the end of the day, you're building a world together and you learn so much through it. Yeah. I think that question nowadays in specific is about brand image building first, you know. Yes, you need to have the unique selling point and you build your brand image, and then let that brand image build the clientele. None of this is meant to be easy, you know. To grow your clientele, if you're clever, if you're marketing genius, you could literally have a client base, boom, you know, in a month or a few months time. You know, that is no longer shocking news for nowadays social media age. The real question is longevity, you know. Is your brand timeless? Can it last through time and trend? Would your client base stay? And also the quality of your client base as well. Because one thing I think people sometimes forget about fashion brand is you're trying to tell people that you're worth a lot more than actually what you deserve, you know? That takes a lot to build that kind of image. And I'm not saying these are all facade and lies, you know, but it takes time. It takes time for people to say that, yes, you have been committed, you deserve that. And people shouldn't expect things like this will happen in a second, and shouldn't try to do anything marketing wise or brand image wise, or to try to gain client that is quick and easy and change your design to fit into a certain dynamic or a certain type of you know, a demographic, like a geographical situation. Oh, because I'm an Asian designer, I need to do something that is catered to this market. Because you need to ask yourself, if you want to build a successful brand, it needs to be timeless. It needs to last through time. It shouldn't be about a certain age group or a geographical or cultural group. It should be global, you know. You've got to ask yourself this question, because if you want short-term success, then do it as you please. Run with it. And then once it's died down, start another thing, right? But it's your name on the line. So, you know, what do you want? Those are questions you can only answer for yourself, I suppose. In general, I think I'm just very excited for the new chapter of the brand, really. I think we have done a lot this year. And I also noticed that we have already established a certain story that the brand is associated and known for, which I'm immensely proud of. But I felt like I'm ready to say more and tell more stories as well, you know, that people might not expect to see, but it's not coming from the heart to shock them or to surprise people, but it's just what I have always been able to do. And now I felt like I'm ready and more capable in doing, you know, no matter on the business side or the support side. And also me as a designer side, I'm ready to take on a bigger challenge to tell stories that I always want to say. And now I felt like, yeah, I'm ready and able to do so. So I'm kind of excited, you know, for the next 10 years. Yeah, many more until I die. Yeah.